In today's episode, I have a very interesting guest on the Pathmark Presents podcast. I'm with Eric Vardon, who is the co-founder of Morphio. And, I'm not going to say that much. It's essentially what Morphio is in a sense, it's the world's first advanced marketing security software. And obviously, with a lot of people doing a lot of things in marketing, there is always a lot of things that can go wrong. So essentially, we're going to be learning today how Eric is supporting those marketers out there, to do better job with more secure systems. So Eric, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Lucas. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So maybe give us an overview from, within your own words, like what is Morphio all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were a technology company born inside an agency with many clients, many campaigns, and unfortunately mistakes here and there that cause for confusion and stress and sometimes even loss of clients and revenue. And as our business grew and as the complexity increased, we wanted to build software that would help us mitigate those risks and issues. We've since sold that agency, are still a part of it from a passive perspective, but are focused on making marketing teams across the world more effective, happy, and awesome.
That's very good. So, who would be a typical user? Obviously, marketing teams, but are we talking agencies? Are we talking, the smaller marketing teams? Are we talking large marketing teams? Who is leveraging Morphio? And for maybe a little bit into what use cases also.
Absolutely. So we are from an agency, as I mentioned, but ultimately marketing teams are exactly the same no matter where they are in the world. We have a little over 80 countries in usage across, of course, every time zone. But every stack is the same, and every marketing team is pretty much employing the same tool set for the most part. We all run on the same media platforms. We all use, for the most part, the shared big analytics, Google Analytics, et cetera. And so we found over the last year or so since really launching the product that our theory of marketers have the same stresses. We have the same issues plaguing us with time. And I think the biggest thing that we've learned is that, we really want to free ourselves up to do the more strategic thinking and problem solving, or client management, or internal team building, all those kinds of things. And so ultimately, we really just want to take away the mundane kind of repetitive tasks and allow automation to do what we really don't want to do. And so yeah, agencies, marketing teams. Ultimately, if you're looking for enterprise-like software at a fairly cost-effective price point, that's ultimately why we built this. We couldn't find something that would really help us that we could afford as a growing agency in our marketing team. So that's what we're here to fix.
Very cool. Could you give us one or two sort of tasks that are being automated or that marketers are being helped with, just to give it sort of a tangible angle for somebody who might not be as familiar?
Yeah, absolutely. And not to get too nerdy, but we did poll 301 marketing teams, and the information we got back wasn't that it was one resounding use case that they were trying to fix. It was many, and incrementally those add up to a lot of frustration. So a couple examples, flagging with anomaly detection in our algorithm, things like as simple as, are my campaigns on when they're not supposed to be, credit card failures, incorrect broken links or forms, or incorrect targeting, broken tracking, underspend, overspend. I mean, I can kind of go on, but the little things sometimes that are actually not that complex, but when you're managing a lot of campaigns or a lot of web presences, or in case of agencies, clients, that all adds up to the point where it's just, unbelievably taxing, and not one human can tackle it all. And really that's what our different features are set up, is to solve each of those various use cases.
Very good. That makes it very tangible. How do marketers out there actually learn about Morphio? Like, what would be a typical journey that somebody goes through in order to, learn about you guys and getting started? Or, for that matter, what would be the acquisition channels?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty aggressive on our own digital marketing as marketing people that come from agency. We know the tactics, and although we're still in our learning and growing stages of the right features, the right type of conversion from trial, all those kinds of things. Ultimately, we do a lot around our campaigns and our lead magnets and our content to be able to offer information that is enough to get people into the system. We do have a freemium model, so we hope to allow even the youngest and growing of marketing teams to be able to use our system and use it, adopt it, and grow over time. We know we are a different way to work, which represents learning and trust within an algorithm that they may not have used before. So it's really up to us to use those channels. And then obviously we're really focused on our user interface and experience using, of course, our chatbot and our extensive knowledge base, resources and videos and content within the system itself, where you should be able to get answers, get support, and get content and instruction on what we've done, why we've built it, why it works this way, and hopefully best practices on how to use it. So that's really our focus right now, is to keep our team of producers excited and happy about what it is that they're producing, and to make sure that it matches the expectations of trialers and customers. And really that's a big project within itself.
Got you. For other like founders out there, or even for the matter, marketing teams, just, sort of very curious, your inbound, outbound split, which obviously will be changing always. Like, how would you describe that? Is it like 100% inbound at the moment? Is there a split?
So it's sort of threefold. It's, doing enough to nurture the freemium users that we can tell based on usage and data that they're just not quite ready to see all the value within the business. There's of course then the core group, which are generally very proactive within their business itself, but also very busy. So it's hard to maybe adopt in new features or those kinds of things. So it's really ensuring that they for dollar see value in what it is that they're paying for within the business, while we introduce new features that incrementally get them excited to either upgrade or even to refer customers to us. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, our digital marketing channels that kind of bring in leads and opportunities for us of various sizes. And then, of course, organic fits in with, a good percentage. So I won't get into the weeds of how that breaks down, because as you mentioned, it changes every day and week and month. But we are very, very proactive in handling as many onboarding demo supports as we can. We're early, we're young, and we know that we have a layer of service in a business that is new and unique, that needs a lot of still human interaction and conversation. When you're breaking a new barrier of, I need a new way to work, or I'm, again, as I mentioned, trusting a new process or technology, I need to have trust in what I'm seeing, but also in the people that are building it. So that may not be something we offer forever as, consumers or our customers get more easily comfortable with, algorithms and machine learning. But for now, it's really important that we services at the highest level we can.
Makes complete sense. We talk a lot about websites actually in the Pathmark Presents podcast, quite naturally, to sort of the listeners and also Pathmark in itself. How do you look at the website today? Obviously, you have the freemium model. Like, what role do you attribute to the website?
Yeah, so our again, as agency people, we put a lot of time and effort into optimization and SEO and the performance of our website just as much as we do about the product itself. So everything is about data and about testing, and nothing happens without sort of an A/B or whatever you want to do to compare against some sort of data set or content. So we don't spend an absorbent amount of time refacing the whole site. It's really focused on our lead pages, our magnets, and our content that's working, and then ultimately tweaking those, trying new features, then sort of lowering the budget, seeing what's happening from a conversion perspective, looking at the data, and then going back out with probably an increased budget with a different strategy, different scenario. And so you even can see those ebbs and flows and trials and customers on maybe like a 2 or 3 month lag from a sales perspective. So we're still heavily invested in that learning phase until we get our acquisition costs where we need to, and we get our conversion where we need to. And that's just at the point of scale, when you're able to reach the maturity of where those intersect. Takes time, and it's hard and a lot of work and very taxing, but it's the type of approach back to the website where everything has its purpose, and the website on its own is one piece of a huge pie of our funnel of marketing.
Yeah. Coming back to the product in itself, right? For everybody who's listening in and sort of starting to learn more about what you guys are doing, what would you say is sort of one of the main competitive advantages or sort of the main benefits that somebody can take away that is very difficult to get somewhere else?
Yeah, outside of some of the use cases, again, back to the newness of our industry is not everybody in marketing is familiar with anomaly detection or the ability to trust or employ machine learning to ingest data and help make decisions or suggestions or insights. Because we built this in an agency with not only real people using the system, but real data and millions of dollars of campaigns and the types of frequency, mistakes, and iterations of those campaigns across different types of marketers, it allowed us to be able to sort of test the algorithm and be able to understand what's working and perfect our software and our system before we launched it into the public. I think that's a massive competitive advantage looking at it now because of not only the complexity of finding users that are willing to allow their data to be tested and built off of. I think it's going to be continuously growing difficult for many startups in that space. So I think that's one way that I would look at it. And the other is we are marketers. We're not just software individuals, even though of course we have that complexity within the team, but each of us comes from service. We come from the world of marketing and building websites and building landing pages and building campaigns. And now moving over the software, I think it's important that we can relate to our customers in a way that they understand and they respect. And that is a big difference between us and say a competitor out there.
You mentioned actually, obviously, the full-on marketing background that the team comes within. I would love to ask you a couple of questions, sort of switching gears a little bit, from the core product, talking more about your perspective on marketing. What would you say is the biggest challenge at the moment in marketing when it comes to innovation?
Yeah, I've been doing this, unfortunately, a very, very long time. And it's always baffled me that the process, we'll use website development, of course, is the process itself from, wireframing to UI to creative to copywriting. And, it is exactly the same as it was 20 years ago. And there's that set of group of maybe individuals. And then on the other side, there's this highly technical, highly scalable, unbelievably fast, and very, very machine-driven mentality of users that are taking and using software to completely revolutionize the process. That's what I see every day, and that's what gets me excited. Again, probably because I've been in this business so long. I really do see the shift between just a completely subjective process to one that is littered with data and completely all things objective. There's a fine balance there. I'm never one to propose that only a machine can do this or only a human can do that. But let's make sure that as humans we're doing the things that we love, which is being creative, setting a strategy, and being able to problem solve in a way that I think a machine can't. So to me, that's what I want to do more of. And I see that's the ability for us when we can adopt or have an AI strategy. It's going to allow me to be a better marketer and or a better web designer and or, but I have to at least be open and willing to try. But to me, that's the biggest shift and kind of the biggest thing that I see, finally coming out of all of the mass change that the pandemic has sort of fast forwarded.
And what would you say is the biggest challenge when it comes for marketing, when it comes to return on investment?
Well, it's all about tracking. So, I mean, I don't think it's only going to continue to get worse or better or difficult, let's say, for brands and agencies on behalf of their clients or for the businesses themselves. The complexity of the tools, the complexity and the time and the amount of media or dollars that is now going into all things digital, the amount of tactics and the mentality of each of our platforms that we use to try to own and keep that traffic within their systems really is going to make it hard for us to track and to do properly find that ROI. So the measurement side of things is one way. The other side is the complexity means that we really need tools to be able to ensure that not only we're tracking properly, but when things do happen or do occur that impact those results or campaigns from a financial perspective, it's going to be that much more that much more difficult to maneuver or pivot or change when you're talking about increased dollars, which is just going to cause more stress and more complexity and all those things. So to me, again, it's all wrapped up in the ability to track and the ability to produce ROI. It used to be a bit easier. It's only going to continue to increase. And I think that's a hard one.
Makes a whole lot of sense. You brought up actually conversion optimization a couple of times, a lot of A/B testing going on. What would you consider the biggest challenge for conversion optimization in today?
Yeah, it's probably trying to do too much too quickly, and not, again, similar to the tracking issue, is making sure that you know exactly what you're measuring and how you deem success. That's a hard one to answer, and it's also a lot of work. Every time you reproduce, change, and launch something, you really do need a strict process to ensure that, back again, you're tracking everything the way it's supposed to be done. So I see there's a big open opportunity there, which we're going to take a piece of to be able to help with that health of your tagging, or the ability to track what it is that you should be or should have in place to measure ROI. But again, that complexity is going to be harder and harder from a conversion perspective.
Super interesting. I want to switch gears a little bit as we're coming slowly to an end of the interview. I would love to talk about sort of your own journey, right? What would be sort of the type of content that you consume at the very moment? There's so much stuff out there on marketing. How do you choose where to read and what to consume?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the age or average age of your listeners, Lucas, but at some point, as you get a bit older, you go through this. Not that you know everything, but it's time to sort of trust in your own path and try to really make decisions that aren't impacted by a blog or an audiobook, et cetera. So you filter those things in. And I think then the filter going out changes a bit. So I always surround myself with smarter people than me, of course, and we have such an amazing team around the company that is Morphio, and they're the experts. They're in the weeds, they're in the details, they understand better than anyone. We of course use a couple agencies, an agency or two, to help keep us in the weeds for other things that may not be our core competency, and learning from those individuals probably takes the majority of my time. So outside of that, I think LinkedIn continues to be a great resource from a business perspective, but it's in tools like Medium, or blog or articles like Medium, and get into a rabbit hole of who posted what, or et cetera. So there's not, the longest winded way to say it is, there's no one shortage. It's really for me at this point in time of my career, a mixed bag of a bunch of different things, and then sometimes just having time to think and be creative and not be bombarded by content. It's sometimes just beneficial to be within your own mind for a while.
Yep, very interesting. I would like to sort of wrap it up with our rapid fire questions. Are you ready for those?
Yep, sure, bring it on.
What's the last book you read?
Last book is currently The Creature from Jekyll Island.
What's the one single thing that Morphio is focused on the most at the moment?
Data accuracy.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, what's the one thing that you would want to have fixed for your company today?
Oof. Man, I don't even know how to answer that one. Someone to, I'm not having an answer come to mind, Lucas, so I'll get back to you on that one.
Very good. Very good. What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
Outside of all the COVID stuff, probably just having too much fun, enjoying a great night, and my own self staying up far too late. So all good reasons.
I love this answer. This is pretty cool. Very last question would be actually, if today would be your first day, starting on Morphio, what would be the one advice that you would give yourself?
I would say move quicker to launch when something is not perfect, and get as much information, data, and user feedback as you possibly can. I think all of us, with creating our own babies, want it to be perfect before we let everybody see it. And I think retroactively, looking at things, it's better to have feedback, good or bad, because you learn so much from it. So get it out there, get that feedback, bring it back in, and really keep up that iteration.
Eric, thanks a lot for being part of Platform Presents with us today.
Thank you, Lucas.